Hi, everyone. I'm Ed Garsten, and welcome to episode 116 of Tales from the Beat, where we look at news and PR from both sides of the scrimmage line. And I am so happy to have as my guest, return guest, Elliot Katz, uh, entrepreneur, tech genius, overall mensch we've had before a while ago when you were with a different company, but now you have co-founded a really exciting new venture, really is important for anybody, journalists, PR people, anyone who uses AI and is really concerned about the accuracy of the results, since that's been really a big concern, and we'll talk more about that in a bit. But Elliot, tell us about this AI platform that you and your partner launched a few months ago, and how it's so much different from what we're used to.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me, Ed. I'm
You
a
bet.
I'm a longtime listener of the podcast. I love it. So
Thank you.
pleasure being here. So in short, what we're doing at Mixus is we're deploying colleague in the loop AI agents. And let me give a little context and background to your listeners on the
Yeah,
AI agent space in general
sure.
before I explain how our agents are quite different than what others are in the space are deploying.
Okay.
So, businesses right now are trying to deploy fully autonomous AI agents. But the problem is that AI is highly mistake prone, right? And
Mhm.
so fully autonomous AI agents are highly mistake prone,
Right.
right? And so just to give you an example, in a benchmark test that was recently created by OpenAI itself, right? So this wasn't a
Mhm.
third party coming in to test. It was created by OpenAI
Right.
to evaluate their model's ability to answer straightforward, fact seeking questions. Their O3 model hallucinated over 50% of the time,
Wow.
meaning every other answer was incorrect,
It's
right?
incredible. Wow.
And their O4 mini model
Yeah.
performed even worse. Nearly 4 out of 5 responses were wrong, meaning it fabricated answers
Jeez.
nearly 80% of the time, right?
Ridiculous. Yeah.
And that's okay if I'm a consumer using this product and I just wanted to write a poem about my dog or
Yeah.
something like that. That's not of consequence,
Right.
right? But these models are being deployed by businesses today in AI agents that power customer service and decision making systems, right?
Yeah.
Places where being wrong is of consequence. There could be
Yeah.
severe consequences,
Sure.
right? So at Mixis, we're taking a very different approach to AI agents. We're
Okay.
saying that for businesses to deploy AI agents safely, they
Right.
need to mix us, right? A play on
Okay.
our name,
I got it.
artificial and human intelligence together. And,
Right.
and if you look at the logo behind me, that's our company logo. We call it
Mhm.
the Lumen. It's a literal human in the loop, right?
I
That's what
like
we
that.
stand
Yeah.
for. And again, we're doing this by deploying collaborative colleague in the loop AI agents where you or your colleagues can verify or correct AI outputs before they cause harm. So I want to actually show you this in a
Yeah.
second. But let me give 30 more seconds of just
Sure.
background, and then I'll show you what I mean to crystallize it.
Okay.
So, for example, say I create an AI agent that reads all my call transcripts and drafts my customer follow-up emails, right? From when I'm
Okay.
on customer calls.
Hmm.
Maybe that's a three-step agent where first the agent finds the correct transcript, then it drafts the email, and then it actually sends the email from me to the customer.
Okay.
Now, after step two, the drafting of the email, which is done by AI, it's done by
Right.
the agent. And
Okay.
before step three, the sending of the email, because the agent is sending the email on my behalf, I may want to check the email the AI drafted before it goes out. Or
Okay.
maybe I want my boss to check that email or
Mhm.
other teammates who are also on that call to make
Yeah.
sure that the AI didn't make any mistakes and that it's written in a way that's appropriate for a customer facing email, right?
Okay.
So I
Sure.
would create this agent on Mixis, but after step two, I would ask for colleague verification, which means that before the agent moves to the final step 3, a human would need to verify that everything looks good or make any changes and then verify it before the agent would proceed to the final step of sending the email, right?
Okay.
So by bringing colleagues into the loop, you get the full power of AI agents, the efficiency and the time savings, et cetera, without any of that downside risk of AI mistakes going undetected. And what I can do, if you're interested, Ed, is I can actually share my screen.
Okay.
And I could show you some examples of what we're talking about here. So, and actually, I had some ideas that were relevant ideas for this podcast specifically. Okay. So let me go to those ideas now. And I'm also going to show you while I do this, how easy it is to create an AI agent on Mixus. So as a longtime listener of your podcast, I know that you're on both sides of the scrimmage line, right? The journalist side and the PR side. Correct. So a lot of people, when I tell them about what we do and I tell them about AI agents, sometimes their first question is, what is an AI agent? I don't even know what you're talking about, right?
That was my first question. Yeah.
Exactly. And so the beauty of this is someone who's never used AI, someone who doesn't even know what an AI agent is, can build and use agents on Mixus. And I'll show you that right now. Okay. So as you can see here, I'm about to create an agent just in plain English, right? So I say, provide me the latest news on how AI is affecting the field of journalism and public relations. Based on this news, give me 3 ideas of topics I can discuss on my podcast about journalism and public relations. Email me the summary of the news and the list of topics. Okay. So I'm simply, I drafted that before, but you can just go into Mixus and do this too. So now I'll go into Mixus. I'm going to go into agents and I'm going to go into create agent. Now I could create it myself, or I could say, do it for me, right? And then as long as you can read and write, right? I put exactly what I typed in there. I just copied it in there. I go create agent. And in a few seconds, you're going to have a multi-step AI agent created for you. So the first step is, what I just said before. The second step is what I said before. And step 3 is email me the summary of the news. Now, the reason I'm having to email me is because I'm the only person on this demo. But if you, Ed, were doing this podcast and you had a whole team under you, maybe there's a researcher who works for you, who's looking up ideas for the podcast. Sure. For their step 3, they could say, I'm sorry. Well, first of all, they could say, send me the list and send it to my boss, Ed Garsten. But also, before they do that, they could require verification for step 2 before it actually sends the email, right? Okay. So you can have anyone in your organization, any of your colleagues or multiple of your colleagues be verifiers. Since I'm the only person in this space and on this demo, I'll do it for myself just for demo purposes, right? So I'm going to confirm the selection right now. I'm going to save this agent that I just created. And it gave it a name, AI Journalism and PR Planner, right? I'll run with that. I can change the name if I want. Okay. And then I have options, right? So I could run it now, which I'm about to do, or I could schedule a run. So let's say that that you do your podcast, weekly, right? You could say, hey, I want this to run weekly on these specific days and at this time, right? You can do it at any time interval that you want. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to run it. This is just a demo for purposes of the pod. And now let me go to the chat. And now, hands up, you can see that I'm not doing anything. Right. This is the agent that's working now on my behalf. And so let's see how it does. And so again, it's looking up the latest news on how AI is affecting journalism and public relations. There was this, it looks like a recent major screw up at the Chicago Sun-Times where they generated something from AI. They didn't check it. It's giving you the sources, so you can go to the source. Legal dispute over AI in the newsroom, AI in public relations. It's giving you the sources. And then the agent is saying, based on the news, and you can tell it's an agent here, by the way, because you see the agent icon right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Generate 3 ideas of topics to discuss on a podcast. And then you see it stops here before sending the email. Because if this was actually sending an email to my boss or a colleague,
Yeah.
I'd want to look at it before it
Sure.
does that. But I just looked at it. So I'm going to verify this step.
Okay.
And because I think it looks good. And then you see it goes blue. So I know that a human verified it. It's in the chat that a human verified it. And so if you're looking back, if something goes wrong, even though the AI agent is doing all the heavy lifting, you have traceability, you have auditability. So you can look back and say, these were the humans who were supposed to verify this. So if something goes really right or really wrong, you know who to go back to, right? And then the last thing that it's doing is it's going to it's integrated with my email, and it's going to email the summaries to me so I can have it in my email inbox.
Okay.
So that is all pretty cool. And actually, let me show you that last step, and let's see if it came through. So here it is. It just came. Latest news and podcast ideas on AI and journalism and PR, right?
Okay.
So it gave me everything. It gave me the topics. It's very cool. So you could run this weekly, and this could be like your intern agent, right?
Right. Yeah.
Podcast, Ed. So that's one example. Now, okay, go for it.
Yeah. So I just want to stop you for a minute so we understand the process of getting a human being in the loop here and backstopping your results. Is somewhere along the line you're involving either your team that you've invited into the platform? Are they pinging them? I mean, how quickly can you get the verification? I'm a reporter on a deadline. I'm doing a search. I need to do something really quickly. How fast can this all happen?
Yeah, so you immediately the best way to think about this, Ed, is we work with organizations, right?
Okay.
So say we work with, or say you're a reporter for Acme Corp, right?
Okay.
Acme Corp would sign up with us, and everyone would have a seat to be able to use Mixus. And
Okay.
when you tag one of your colleagues for verification, if they're not on Mixus at the time, they instantly get an email notification. So they know to go in, whether that's your editor or someone, if you're on deadline, they know to go in, whenever they can to give that verification so that you have their blessing or whatever it is that you need, and you can move on with the story. I can actually give you one other example, Ed, if you want, that shows
Go
that.
for it. Sure.
Okay. So we're on the your podcast where probably we get a lot of reporters and journalists and whatnot. So let me run this agent, and I'll give you the background as it's running. Let's go to the chat. So basically the background here is, let's say that my editor came to me and said, hey, I just wrote in a Waymo in San Francisco. I want you to write a story. I want a story about if they're using any human assistance, right? And so the first thing that you probably have to do is look and say, okay, has Waymo talked about this publicly? Have other people written about this, right? So that's the first thing that this agent is doing. And it got a Waymo blog, which is talking about it, which is great. It got Phil Koopman, who's an expert in the space, who's talking about remote assistance. It got something from Waymo support. So that's great, right? And then, so now I'm saying, what's the next thing I have to do if I'm actually going to write a story about this, right? I need to find some experts on the topic that I may be able to connect with as sources for my story. So then it pulled up the experts. These are all autonomous vehicle experts. And then I say, hey, now I need to reach out to these experts, right? And so I say, draft me the LinkedIn messages, personalize them per the expert in their background, and let them know that this is the story that I'm writing. This is the deadline, so that we need to connect before, the deadline, and we connect by any way, right? Whether that's email or Zoom, etc. And so that's what it's doing right now. It's actually going to draft up those messages that I can paste into LinkedIn to reach all of these people.
I
So
see.
it's basically taking a lot of the tasks, right? If you were, if you were actually doing this from soup to nuts,
Hmm.
I would assume that it would take you a little bit of time, right? It would,
Yes.
maybe take an hour, multiple hours if it's a complex story, right?
Hmm.
So here, hold on, let me go back because the agent is working in real time. So
Right.
as you can see, it wrote a message to each of these people, right? And it's
Yeah.
personalized, right? It's
Hmm.
saying, hey, you're at Princeton, you're an expert.
Yeah.
This person, wrote this book, Autonomy, blah, 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 blah. So then go down here and I say, okay, you can also store documents in Mixus, right? So the AI can reference any documents that you store in Mixus. So I have this PR team contacts document, and I'm
Yeah.
saying, look at that and see if we have anyone from the Waymo PR team. And it says, okay, we didn't find anyone from the Waymo PR team,
Yeah.
right? So then I'm saying, okay, write an email from me in the chat to Waymo's PR team. I'm looking at the email. It looks pretty good. And then the last thing that I wanted to do is send out the email. But
Okay.
before it does that, right, I need to verify. And I looked at it. Everything looks good. I'll verify. And then same as before, it's just sending the email to me because it's a fake demo right now. But in the real
Right.
world, it would actually send that out to Waymo's team.
I see. Okay. So, you referenced the really embarrassing situation. It was the Chicago Sun-Times, and I believe the article was in the Philadelphia Inquirer as well, where for people who weren't aware of it, a syndicated freelance writer generated a list of what summer reading list, and it turns out that the writer used AI, and some of the books on the list don't even exist, which is, really unforgivable, I would say. So how would so say this journalist had access to Mixus and the the mechanism that you just described. How could that have been prevented if he had gone on the platform and used all his capabilities?
Yeah, so this is actually a perfect example, and it's a pretty egregious example. So
Yeah.
specifically, all this person was tasked with was choosing 15 books that are good summer reads,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And this person just went to AI and told AI to do it and didn't check it at all, didn't give it to an editor check, anything like that. And
Mhm.
10 out of the 15 books were completely fake. They just
Yeah.
didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
And so this is something that I
It's
think
crazy.
it is crazy, but I
Yeah.
think that this is something that AI can do quite well, right? A human doesn't know all of the books that exist in the world that are good reads for the summer, right?
Yeah.
You
Right.
can go to AI and ask it that, and it can really think and do it for you. Now, this is a perfect example of it really screwing that up.
Yeah.
But if they were using Mixus and they had an agent doing that or just a person doing that,
Hmm.
you could ask for verification from your editor or from colleagues or anyone, right? Who can come in and say one of the books that was fake, by the way, was
Yeah.
supposedly written by Isabel Allende, who's actually pretty famous. And
Yes.
so anyone who's you know would understand probably instantly, wait, Isabel Allende didn't just write a book by this name,
Hmm.
that would, you know. And so anyone can come in and say, hey, I think something is off here before we press the button to publish, right?
Right.
Maybe it's integrated with Mixes.
Yeah.
We have to make some changes. So then the people in that chat can go back and forth chatting with one another and with AI, and they can fix it, right? And
Mm.
that's exactly the point of what we're talking about here is if you have a fully autonomous AI agent,
Yeah.
especially at the rate that AI is hallucinating today,
Yeah.
there could be massive undetected mistakes,
Right.
right?
Right.
You want to get that power and efficiency of AI, but you
Sure.
want a human to be in the loop or multiple humans to make
Mhm.
sure that you don't face those downside consequences.
All right. Not to show my age, but I got to ask you this. If I had a list of 15 books, wouldn't it be just as easy just to go on Google or somewhere and just search for the titles and see if they came up instead of going through all this?
Yeah. So potentially, yes, right?
Okay.
The
Yeah.
issue there, or what we talk about with a lot of our early customers,
Yeah.
is what they're very worried about is
Hmm.
putting AI into people at their company's hands that
Hmm.
don't have a lot of experience with AI
I
and
see.
then not really having a mechanism for
Yeah.
oversight,
I
right?
see. Yeah.
And so here, what we're able to do with Mixus is we're able to operationalize that oversight. So, for
Okay.
example, the Chicago Sun-Times, just using that example, right?
Hmm.
They could be using Mixus and they could have rules that are, brought out through Mixus that say before you publish anything, you have to have your editor or a colleague or multiple colleagues press that verify button, meaning they've actually reviewed, they know that what the AI put out is real and not total slop, etc.
Okay.
So it's not always the person, right?
Hmm.
Who is drafting up whatever it is, who's the actual subject matter expert. I'll give you an example from myself, right? I started Mixus with my co-founder, Shai.
Yeah.
I am the business co-founder, and he is the technical co-founder.
Okay.
But oftentimes I'm on calls where, they'll ask a lot of technical questions. Luckily, a lot of which I know just because I eat, live, and breathe Mixus.
Hmm.
But then when I'm drafting follow-ups, maybe I'll have the Mixus agent draft those follow-ups. And some of the questions that I'm answering are engineering questions. So I'll
Okay.
want to tag Shai as a verifier there to make sure that the AI is actually getting these technical questions correct and that anything that
Yeah.
I'm adding in, quite frankly, is correct as well. So it's operationalizing this
Yeah.
within an organization so that there's oversight, there's collaboration, and you know that you can rest easy at night knowing that you're just not letting these autonomous AI agents run
Right.
wild,
Yeah.
right? There's
Right.
still multiple colleagues in the loop.
Okay. Okay. So I just wanted to bring out because you did give me access to Mixes several months ago, and I had a chance to explore it in other scenarios where I found it very handy. Right, where somebody had asked about restaurants somewhere and some auto questions.
Yeah.
We don't want people to. I just want people to understand that you can use it for anything.
Yeah.
For
So,
anything, if you wanted to, recommendations. I don't know. I'm going to go visit Iowa. Is there anything good to do in Iowa? And somebody could pop in, right?
right, right. So I'm
Sorry,
glad.
Iowans. So
No, no, no. I'm glad you brought that up. So
yeah.
we have changed from B2C to B2B, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what happened was when we originally came out, we were a consumer product. We did a lot with Stanford University. We had thousands of students on it. We had classes at Stanford using the product. And what we found is that when you're using AI as a consumer, um, for instance, if I ask AI to write a poem about my dog, right, it
Right.
can't really screw that up. Or even if it does screw that up,
Yeah.
it's not really of consequence, right?
Okay.
So consumers really like the fact that they don't have to do it, right? It's really quick. It's
Hmm.
taking some stuff off their hands. Yeah, it's going to screw up here and there, but I'm not really doing anything too crazy with it anyways.
Right.
And what we found is with businesses, that is not the case at all,
Okay.
right? Businesses and people who work for businesses are doing things of consequence all day, every day. And
Okay.
so now our model is we are working with companies or at
Oh,
least teams within companies. So
okay.
you can sign up for Mixes today. You have to sign up with four other people because that's key. We want colleagues in the loop.
Yeah.
We are working with businesses that want to deploy AI and AI agents in a way that, again, they don't have to deal with these undetected AI mistakes.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. How much does it cost? Is there subscription rates?
Yeah, so it's $20 per month per seat if you're just to
Okay.
go to the website and
Yeah.
and sign up. And then we work with enterprises specifically, if they want to have multiple teams or lots of people on the platform, we work out, enterprise pricing with them as well.
All right. So interesting, so helpful. Um, Curious to put it into practice, but Elliot Katz, thank you so much. I'm sure that anyone listening to this and seeing the examples will want to pop on, or at least try to explore Mixus.ai, because anything that causes us to have fewer hallucinations in this world is appreciated, especially given all the craziness that's out there right now. But Elliot, it's always great to see you. I love you always coming up with something interesting and helpful. For anyone who doesn't know, Elliot's previous company had you were able to operate forklifts remotely from anywhere in the world. Phantom Auto was an awesome company. Uh, Gave so many people an opportunity to work who couldn't work otherwise. And we're sorry to see that company's not around anymore, and we won't get into that. But uh, really wish you the best of luck with Mixus.ai, and I'm be curious to hear from any of you out there if you've had some experiences, how it goes. So thanks a lot. I'm sure we'll be talking as we as we go along, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Ed. And
You
I'm
bet.
actually quite glad that you brought up Phantom Auto because that was human in the loop for autonomous vehicles. And now
Yeah.
we're bringing that same DNA. We are the human in the loop guys to generative AI and agents. And that's really what we believe. We're techno optimists, but
Yeah.
we believe that for 1,000 flowers to bloom,
Hmm.
generative AI, it can't just be the AI on its own, right? It has to be humans and AI together. And that's where we're going to get the best outcomes.
Awesome. That's a great way to end. Elliot Katz, thank you so much. And thank you all for listening and viewing. That's Tales from the Beat for this episode. I'm Ed Garson. I'll be back soon with more tales. Take care.